Through the combination of the symbols of smell, the invisible line, and the scholar stone, Parasite positions the audience to recognize the despair of poverty and the impossibility of upward social mobility regardless of talents and efforts. By placing these ideas on the forefront with various stylistic features, director Bong Joon-ho compels the audience to question the capitalist society within Korea and the idealistic sense of hope that sustains it. Smell and the invisible line. Smell and the invisible line encompass Parasite's commentary on the social divide in Korea, enveloping the audience into the inescapability of poverty and social class. The frames in Parasite are carefully constructed to show the tangibility of the class divide. Through mise-en-scène, windows become barriers and the car a microcosm for social division. This gives the audience a perspective beyond the characters, reinforcing that class divide is beyond personal, rather it is broad and systematic. Gum's reflection in the scene embodies his aspiration for wealth as it stares back at him. However, being unable to cross through the window, his unreachable reflection only reinforces the tangible division for the audience. The visual motif illustrates his longing for wealth, but will forever remain an illusion to him, and likewise those trapped in poverty, always viewing the rich from the other side of the glass. Bong Joon-ho displays the concrete existence of the invisible line to the audience, placing it between the rich and poor characters, foregrounding the social disparity as an omnipresent, impassable metaphor. The line's existence continues, even as the Kim's self-perception accumulates. From start to end, they are always separated from their wealthy employers. Their illusion of mobility is eliminated for the audience by this line, cementing the inevitability of poverty through continuous and firm presentation of it. Smell further promotes the vast chasm between the rich and the poor, becoming its own invisible line through dialogue and facial expressions of the characters. Mr. Park relentlessly comments on the existence of the line and its connection to smell.
냄새가 손을 넘지 냄새가.
Da-sung and Mrs. Park both also comment on this smell.
똑같다. 둘이 냄새가 똑같아.
Mrs. Park specifically sniffing and blocking her nose with a disgusted reaction to eventually roll down the window. Mr. Kim internalizes their reactions, how his odor crosses the line and reminds the rich of the smell of a subway, a pool for the working and lower classes. The repetitive comments mark his scent as a permanent reminder of his poverty, keeping him chained to his social standing. Although he tries to assimilate with the rich, something as innate as his scent knocks him out. This suggests to the audience that social mobility is not just restrained by economic factors, rather it is also perceptions of innate traits, embedding class divisions as a deeper societal construct. Within Korean society, the poor are not only blocked off financially from the rich, but also socially rejected, emphasizing the uncrossable separation between them. Mr. Kim realizes this from Mr. Park's reaction to Gunsei's smell, the same look of disgust which he has endured throughout the film. Bong is equating the Kims to all poor society due to shared stench, a microcosm for those who try but can't escape their low-class shackles, a metaphor for the inescapable poverty in Korean society. Bong places a microscope over the interplay between rich and poor, promoting social growth as impossible for the poor, bringing forth real-world nuances to consider against the idealistic dream of capitalism. The Scholar's Rock. The Scholar's Rock is a repeated symbol in Parasite gifted by Min, which is supposed to bring future wealth and prosperity. It is adversely utilized by Bong through lighting to portray the false aspirations with which a capitalist society instills, and how those aspirations can become an unreachable struggle towards despair. The stone is introduced in an expensive box and brightly lit. Kevin comments on how metaphorical it is,
이야, 이거 진짜 상징적인 거네.
believing it to hold value beyond its physical form, his belief in its ability being what inspires him to strive for wealth. As Kevin proceeds with his dream, the lighting of the rock changes. The flood section onwards initiates a threat for Kevin's future, and from here on, the rock's lighting is dark and ominous. The lighting reveals the rock's truth, going from a symbol of success to desperation, mirroring Kevin's story, but also reflecting a wider theme of disillusionment for the lower class, who start with hope only to be left in the dark. Bong presents this stone as a physical manifestation of Kevin's desire for wealth, a mutual dream for the poor in Korea's capitalist society. Bong has lighting influenced the audience's insight on the rock, allowing it to evolve from its introduction, going from Kevin's hope to a poison dream he clings onto, yet drags him down. The false hope that capitalism instills within the poor begins as a bright dream, just like the rock's introduction. However, reality is suffocating, and these ideals become a tinted fiction, inevitably returning them to the shadows of society. Narrative perspective and mise-en-scene are used in tandem to highlight Kevin's reliance on the stone, his attachment to his dreams. While the story is told in third person, the audience perspective is very much following Kevin, in which certain shots give us an insight on his dependency to the rock. This is revealed to the audience at the point of conflict. He turns towards it as a beacon, saying, "It keeps clinging to me.
얘가 자꾸 나한테 달라붙는 거예요.
It keeps following me."
얘가 자꾸 날 따라와요.
In Kevin's deluded state, he believes his rock, his aspirations, are still with him, which the audience has shown through Kevin's dialogue and actions to be his final hope. However, no matter how hard he worked and fought for his dreams, society pushed him back down to his reality, proving the lie of Korean capitalism that is meritocracy. The continuation of his hope in the final scene brings forth the cyclical nature of hope and despair, the trap of poverty in which dream seekers are met with generational oppression, their hard work only feeding those at the top. The placement of the rock in earlier scenes is always within Kevin's reach, until he eventually lets it slip, epitomizing the rock as a symbol of false hope, his most treasured possession evolving into his personal symbol of destruction. Through the rock, Bong spotlights the false hope of meritocracy capitalism promises, causing the audience to question whether society is built on the morals of working hard for success as opposed to exploiting those that work hard instead. In conclusion, Bong Joon-ho's Parasite employs the symbols of the Scholar's Stone, smell, and the invisible line to provide a commentary on the class divide in Korea. He uses an array of stylistic techniques to enforce into the audience the hopelessness that is class mobility, the impossibility to achieve the false aspiration capitalism instills, and finally, the inescapable nature of poverty. Bong forces the audience to question the capitalist society in Korea through exposing these endless evils that occur due to the firm class divide and the falsehood of dreams it creates in those that will never achieve them.